Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning. Welcome to a Thursday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show. If you missed it last night, the Lightning lose to the Avalanche. And tonight, the Golden State Warriors try to close out the Celtics to win the NBA championship. The U.S. Open is kicked off. Colin Morikawa leads it with Adam Scott at 1 under par. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well. Good to be back. I was over the weekend in the great state of Georgia, and my daughters treated me to a early Father's Day present, took me to the Atlanta Braves Pittsburgh Pirates game. Okay. So I tell you, Shane, if people have not been there, I'll make this brief. That battery thing around the stadium, just restaurants and so forth, is rather incredible. They've got all kinds of parking there. The stadium is really good, and the Braves are on a tear, fortunately, for Braves fans. So, but it was a good trip. Got a couple of preseason mags on the way back, which was wonderful. Lindy's SEC and also Athlon National are out. We are basically 1 month and 2 days away from SEC Media Days. How about that?
I know it's right around the corner. Were you doing the tomahawk chop?
I had my phone up doing the chop at a couple times during the game. Yes.
That's good stuff. All right, Brent. So the magazines that you have so far, because I know you're that guy that hangs out at Publix or Barnes and Noble, or I don't even know if they're still in business, one of those places, waiting to get the magazines. The only one you don't have right now is Phil Steele, correct?
Phil is actually virtually as we speak here in Colorado. He's going to be having a magazine signing today, and they're basically rolling off the press into the trucks onto the shelves. So possibly by the time we talk next week, we may have Phil Steele. He in a tweet said this week that he works on that magazine for 7 months in order to get it up and going. So, and talks to about, there are roughly 130 Division I schools. Amazingly, he talks, and I don't know anybody knows who could do this, frankly. He talks to about 100 of 130 coaches.
That's crazy.
And takes about an hour with them to go over their roster. Again, Shane, I just don't know anyone who can do that. So kudos to him and the hard work, but it works out well for us because we get to have a copy of it and read it.
That's right. Before we move on from the magazines, obviously I would say majority of the magazines that I've seen, I haven't read any of them, but they pretty much have the same top five, right? It's Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, and Clemson, and A&M.
Correct.
Brent, I know Dabo's built a really good program, and they've been in the top five, it seems like, every year except last year, and they had a down year after Trevor Lawrence left. Are they good enough to be one of those teams in the top five right now? I think they have to address their quarterback. I don't think there's any way that DJ Uiagalelei, or however you pronounce his name, can be their quarterback next year if they want to compete in the top five in America.
He's going to have some tremendous improvement for that to happen because last year, frankly, he was just not very good at all. Now, they're in the top five because they've recruited well. and they've still got some real talent. I mean, Will Shipley at running backs, one of the better ones in the league. Miles Murphy, defensive end. I understand their defensive line, as someone told me, is could be in the NFL. It's that good. So we'll watch for that. Trenton Simpson is a linebacker they really like. So defensively, they will be very good. Running back with Shipley, I think they'll be fine. The offensive line, they've got a lot of guys who come back, and they've got a couple of seniors and McFadden and Putnam on there. But to your point, it's still really up in the air to see where they're going to go. And I'm with you. I think basically what happens at quarterback will determine their season. Their first 3 games at Georgia Tech, Furman, and Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, John says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, Cade Klubnik, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, will take over, similar to how Trevor Lawrence took over his freshman year. He's a highly touted kid.
He is.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I didn't mean to jump into the Clemson thing, but I was intrigued that they're in about everybody's top 5.
Sure.
Of all the magazines that you've read, I mean, I don't know if it was Lindy's, but one of them had the Gators finishing 4th in the SEC East. Is that kind of where most of these magazines have the Gators in the East?
Lindy's has Florida at 4th, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, and then but in Athlon, yes, it's got the same thing. So, but again, they had to put him somewhere, and that's basically what you've got. So, yeah, that's typical of both of them. I don't know if Phil Steele will have any different outlook on that. I'm guessing he'll probably will. I think Florida has a better roster than Tennessee, frankly, particularly defensively. I could see them 3rd. Now, Kentucky's 2nd, but Florida could do themselves a lot of good, could they not, Shane? I don't know if they're going to beat Utah, but that Kentucky game is, frankly, humongous. If they can win that game, that will be a tremendous start for that Eastern Division.
Yeah. As you said, SEC Media Days kick off July 18th through the 21st up in Atlanta. The Gators and Billy Napier will show up on Wednesday. We do have some expansion going on. We have some teams leaving the American, going to the Big 12. Anything new there, or anybody that's leaving the American? Or who are they adding to the American? Or are they?
Yeah, sure. The American Athletic Conference. The 6 schools joining are UAB, Florida Atlantic, Charlotte, North Texas, Rice, and UTSA. That's Texas San Antonio, who frankly have done well. Now people may snicker at that a little bit, but you're adding teams that have pretty good TV markets. UAB with Birmingham, North Texas, Rice, and UTSA are 3 of the biggest markets in Texas. Now, we also have to remember the reason this is going on is it's a domino effect. Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU are all joining the Big 12, and that's going to happen by next year. And 2023 is when a lot of that's going on. Now, in Conference USA, and I hope this is not confusing folks, but I'm just giving them a general idea here of what's happening. Conference USA is adding Liberty, New Mexico State, Jacksonville State, who's given teams a lot of problems, i.e. Florida State, and Sam Houston. So, Shane, right now, we need a roster just to find out who's going to be in the conferences, don't we?
Yeah, it's
going to be a mess.
Yeah, no doubt. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Brent, we got some Facebook Lives here before we move on. John asks via Meldon Law, Brent, do you have any insider information about what's going on in Miami? I think he's referring to, I think the NCAA is down there investigating that Ruiz guy.
Miami is the first team that the NCAA has actually investigated that we know of. They were down there last week, and they sat down with John Ruiz. He is a billionaire. He is a Miami booster. So they wanted to sit down with him to get more information about the collectives and his deal with the NIL. Now, again, this is all preliminary stuff. I think a couple of things are going on here. The NCAA is trying to reinvent itself, and they're trying to show that they've got a little bit of teeth in their enforcement. So, and again, nothing may come out of this at all, but at least shows that they are looking at some of these schools, and we'll probably find out later where some of this is going. People may remember that the NIL deal started with a kid named Pack, who is a basketball guard. He's a K-State transfer who signed a 2-year, $800,000 deal to endorse a couple of Ruiz's companies. So, but without getting too far in the weeds here, it's so early that we don't know a whole lot else that's going on. But see, here's the issue with this, and I'm not trying to play attorney here, but when you really don't have a lot of guidelines to go by, it's really hard to nail somebody against the wall with something as, I think, abstract as what we've got right now. But for our sake, the main thing people need to know is the NCAA did go down. They interviewed Ruiz about the situation. We don't know who all they talked to. We'll see where that goes, but it is in the investigation process at the moment.
Andy from up in the Chicago area says, Shane, did you hear our long snapper, Marco Ortiz, did not take the Miami NIL deal? I have great respect for him. I didn't know he was offered. I do know this. Marco has already graduated from the University of Florida. I know he recently got engaged to Roland Thorquist, the women's tennis coach's daughter, who's a student here at Florida as well. So a lot of that probably had to play into it. I don't know what kind of deal he was offered, but I'd turn it down too. Who wants to go down there and play football right now? Dan has a question for you here, brought to you by Meldon Law. He says, Brent, which dark horse QB do you have in the SEC for a breakout year?
That's a great question. Frankly, gosh, there are so many of them because we just don't know, particularly who with some of these teams, who in the world the quarterback's going to be. I mean, you've got Brady Cook and Tyler Macon, who are at Missouri as a possibility. You've also got, I tell you a guy you might look for is Jackson Dart at Ole Miss. Came over from Southern Cal. I think he may be a real possibility. And then you've got at A&M, at Auburn, at LSU, you've got multiple guys. I mean, like LSU, you've got Miles Brennan, Jaden Daniels. That's a great question, frankly, Shane, because if one of these guys emerges from one of the teams that we've mentioned, that means they will have had a really good year.
Dan says, will Jackson Dart be Daniels 2.0, the kid that transferred from USC that went to Georgia and never played? Look, I'll be honest with you. When you say dark horse and have a great breakout year, the dude right here in Gainesville, if he does what he's capable of doing, Florida has a chance to win more games than people expect. So I would start with him. And then John says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, it's funny that Saban and Jimbo call each other out, and the NCAA shows up in Miami. That's true.
Well, we also don't know. I mean, who else have they gone to see? I mean, we'll find that out, I'm sure, in the next few weeks. But at this point, we just don't know.
Yeah, Brent, college football's changed so much. You got some notes here about the offensive trends of throwing the football, passing efficiency, things of that nature.
Yeah, this is certainly right down your alley. There have been some studies that have been made, and frankly, some of this stuff to me is fascinating. The spread offense has made the passing offense more efficient. Quarterbacks are getting the ball out of their hands more quickly, and it's shown by the stats. The Division I set an average completion record last year of 61.5%, and this is the sixth consecutive year that it has risen. I give Ivan Mizell credit for this. And the ratio of touchdowns to interceptions has gone up 8 of the past 9 years. Now, this is right down your alley, Shane. Does this surprise you? Is this a combination of guys with quarterback coaches? They're coached better. When you saw that, what did you think?
Well, I got several thoughts. I mean, obviously, I love throwing the football. I think that's obviously it's the fastest way to score. The game has changed though, because a lot of these high percentage, yards per attempt, things like that, Brent, it's changed because the game has gone horizontal a lot. Yes. The bubble screens, the wide receiver screens, things like that. The numbers are impressive, but people are also throwing the ball 45, 50 times a game. Like I've said multiple times, I have so much respect for what Alabama does offensively because it reminds me of what Steve Spurrier did and changed the SEC with the vertical down the field passing game. Now, Bryce Young, every now and then, he'll throw a bubble screen, but majority of their stuff is play action down the field. You watch some of these teams, majority of there is horizontal bubble screens, shallow crosses, things like that. So, but that's what you got to do now. Put the best athletes in space with the ball in their hands. Yes. And, but yeah, it has a lot to do with coaching. Yes. But there's some talented, I think kids are more talented coming into college football these days because of the 7-on-7s. I'm not a huge 7-on-7 guy because it's not real football. But what it does is it teaches you at least kind of how to read defenses, and it can help with your accuracy, and it just gets you ready to throw the football. I never did 7-on-7 one time in my entire life until I came to college. Wow. So, they just didn't have that kind of stuff back in the day. Charlie says, as a Liberty grad, I'm excited to see the move into Conference USA. Lots of Liberty fans wanted them to get to one of the big conferences, but frankly, they aren't ready for that. No, that'll be a very good conference for them.
It will be. And listen to me. I know you've seen it. If I remember this correctly, they've got more money, more resources, and better facilities than people realize, don't they?
There's no question. No question at all. Brent, Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, did you see his comments he made about Ohio State, like not having to go to class or something like that?
Yes. And he walked that back yesterday, at least a little bit of it, to take some of the sting out of it. And the reason this is a story is because of the opener. But and obviously this is his first year to be there. So, but I'm sure somebody in the PR department and the sports information department told him that didn't look right. So you might need to amend that, and he did.
Yep. The best home record since 2014. I want you to tell us who those teams are, the top 5, and then you will see who has been playing in the 14 playoff, basically.
Yep. That's a great point. Best home record, Clemson's 53-1. That's amazing. Alabama's 52-2. Ohio State's 48-4. Oklahoma's 43-6, and Georgia's 43-6. With that, a couple of surprises here. Appalachian State's 42-7, and Memphis is 46-8. Now, look, I get the fact that the competition's a bit different here, but Shane's right. Your top 5 schools have all been in the playoffs.
Right, you just don't roll into the Liberty Bowl there and take out the
Tigers.
Right. That's a tough place to play there. My favorite stat, and we've been talking about this ever since I've been doing this show, the 3 Power 5 teams that have never had a 10-win season, which is Vanderbilt, Iowa State, and Indiana. And the Iowa State one just blows me away because it seems like everybody falls in love with Iowa State every year with Matt Campbell, and they still ain't won 10 games.
That's right. Oh yeah, absolutely. That is very true. So, I mean, look, they're consistently okay, and they've got some really nice players, and I like Campbell too. I think he's a very good coach, but they've really struggled. I mean, look. We understand Vanderbilt. That's self-explanatory. Are you a little surprised too, Shane, that somewhere in their history, because I mean they've had some decent coaches from time to time, that Indiana has never had a 10-win season either?
Yeah, it's crazy. Those are the only 3 teams in college football history, and it blows my mind. We got a couple Facebook Lives here before we move on to get to. Charlie says, Shane, no joke, Liberty's facilities are better than Florida's. Florida's making the improvements now. Yeah, that is very true. I've been saying that for a long time. David says on here, he says, it's Facebook Live brought to you by Metal Law. My kids went to Ohio State, and they did not go to class. David, did your kids not go to class, or are you saying the football players didn't go to class? So anyway, John says it also seems like every year Matt Campbell's going to leave Ames. Must be something up there. I don't know. Everybody picks them to win the Big 12, and they never do. So anyway, Brent, we got a question here, and we were going to get to it eventually regarding the Gators, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you now. John asked, Brent, do you think we land the quarterback Rashada from California? If we do you see a domino effect happening?
I think that's possible. I know sometimes it's not real easy to bring over the California kids, but I will say this. I mean, you look at Bryce Young and some of the quarterbacks that we've got. I mean, to me, it's worth going into California and recruit. And matter of fact, a week from today, I'm speaking to the Jacksonville Gator Club, and I still say that. Now, look, he's not going to get all of them. But I'm going to include this in. I'm going to include you in here with me. Both Shane and I have said what he has done in recruiting to me is sensational. Now it doesn't mean that he's got all these guys, but look, he is making inroads in relationships and networking with guys that you probably never thought that Florida would. So I think that might be a real possibility, but I can tell you he is beginning the process of recruiting that we may have not seen at Florida in quite a while. So
yeah, I want to say the Rashada kid's supposed to announce Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. But here's what I like to say, because there's still people, if you get on Twitter, there's part of the Gator Nation. It's like, Billy can't land anybody because we haven't had those 3 or 4 or 5 stars. Look, the old saying, brick by brick, build it.
Yes.
that is what they're having to do here, folks. I'm telling you, we are finally going to move into this facility that is taking forever to build.
Yes.
That we have not been in a fair fight, but we're going to have it. And he's getting into these schools that we've never been able to get into, and he's bringing big time kids on campus.
That's right.
You're not going to get them all, but
no.
It's a slow process, and he is doing it the right way. And like I told you, I don't think he's going to have an SEC caliber roster how he wants it until year 3. That's just my personal opinion.
Sure.
So, Brent, this stat on the Florida Gators and the Florida State Seminoles is something else.
It's kind of unusual that that you see stats like this. And remind me in a minute to mention the Arkansas stat too. And I give Gene Fournette credit for this. When Gator baseball and Florida State baseball failed to reach the Super Regionals, it was the first time since 78 that Florida and FSU failed to finish a top 25 in football, failed to reach the NCAA hoops tourney, and also win a baseball regional the same year. So now I think a lot of that's about to change. And by the way, pay attention to the Notre Dame coach in the World Series because he has Florida State ties and may end up being the next Florida State baseball coach.
That's very true, if they can pay him enough. We talked about that earlier in the week on my show, and I don't know if FSU has the money. Text on the Titan MR text line from Darryl. He says, good morning, guys. Brent, do you think Spencer Rattler is going to make a big difference for South Carolina?
Well, I think he may be the best quarterback they've had in a while. Darryl, Shane, and I both have agree with Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler has all the physical tools. The problem with Spencer Rattler, to me, has been maturity and inconsistency. And if Shane Beamer can correct those things, I think that's going to make a big difference. Shane, and I know you've seen this throughout your career on all levels, there are guys who've got a great arm and they can be accurate, but if they don't have some of the intangibles like maturity, particularly in the SEC, you're not going to do much. So I'm hoping we'll see some improvement in him with that.
Yep. Facebook Live here from Jane. She's telling us good morning from Alaska, listening from Alaska. And I got a text here. I love getting these kind of texts. It's an anonymous text, Brent, but he says, you need to replace JC with France. Make this a Gator show. You and JC can go do your Alabama and golf podcast. I'm a loyal listener that has had enough and about done listening. Well, buddy, whoever you are, this is not an Alabama podcast. It's not a golf podcast, and it's not a Gator podcast. We do sports. And if you don't want to listen, you don't have to. It's very simple. Yep. Very simple, right?
But if he does, he may learn something.
That's right. That's right. We're going to talk more than Gators, I can tell you that. Brent, I had another question. Oh, it's about the Army-Navy game.
Yes.
I know there had been some talk because, they always play it in like Philly and Baltimore, and I get that. But wasn't there talk about them having that game possibly in Jacksonville?
Yes. Jacksonville really at some point has talked about making a run at the Army-Navy game. And I mean, it would be a natural certainty for us with the Navy presence that we have here and military overall. So hopefully one day we can do that. But the announcement came out a few days ago that the game coming up it's in Foxborough in 2023, Landover, Maryland in 24, Baltimore in 25, East Rutherford in 26, and Philadelphia in 27. So, I mean, what that tells you is that they're keeping it recently up in the Northeast. But I think that's a really good point. And I'll be honest with you, Shane, I think that would go over well here. I mean, look, we may only get it once in a quarter century or something, but I tell you, I think if we got it, I'm not saying it would be a sellout, but I think it'd be a great crowd.
Oh, I think it would be unbelievable. That's one thing. I'm not one of these guys that loves to travel and go to games because I prefer to watch it on TV. But I've had some friends that have gone to Army, Navy multiple times, and it just, I get chills just watching it on TV. So I got to do that one eventually. Brent, real quick, I know we keep you way too long on this show, and I apologize.
Oh, it's okay.
But you've been having this power poll that you've talked about each week. And this one is interesting to me because it kind of has a stat for every school in the SEC, and I don't know if it's ranked in an order. But do you mind going through this one because I think it's very interesting.
Now I give Matt Hayes credit for this. This is a disturbing trend that must change for schools, and all of them have weaknesses. Georgia, percentage of touchdowns scored in the red zone. They were only sixth in the SEC, 60%. Now, this is something Alabama's got to correct. Alabama allowed 41 sacks last year. Hey, Shane, isn't it a wonder Bryce Young was healthy the whole year?
No doubt.
It's amazing,
he's a little
isn't
joker.
It?
Yeah.
Texas A&M completion percentage. Listen to this. Second worst in the SEC at 56%. This is something Shane and I talked about the whole year. Kentucky had 10 fumbles lost. Second worst in the SEC. Unfortunately, Will Levis had a lot of those. Tackles for loss allowed. Arkansas had 87, 12th in the SEC. LSU, average yards per carry, 3.33. That was 13th.
And what's crazy is just think if they didn't run for like 300-something yards on the Gators, what that average would have been.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, in the interest of time, I won't go into all of them, but Florida, 18 interceptions thrown, get this now, tied for worst in the nation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Missouri one, they gave up 32 rushing touchdowns.
That's incredible.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
Worst in the SEC with that. Now, Ole Miss, this is amazing. This really tells you where your defense is. Opponent rushing plays of 10-plus yards, 83. Shane, that's unbelievable, isn't it?
It really is.
They won 10 games by allowing 83 rush plays of 10-plus yards.
Yeah, that is crazy. Brent, you got any nuggets before we get you out of here?
The Alabama-Texas game is officially sold out. StubHub is anywhere from $100 to $11,000. Shane, how about that?
Good gracious, that is crazy. Yeah. And that's at 11. That's an 11 o'clock start, right?
Yep. A noon Eastern start. You're right. Yeah, that's exactly when it is. We'll scoot through some other notes here real quick. By the way, Arkansas, the only team to make it in the Super Regionals, now the World Series, and softball, win the bowl game, make the NCAA tournament in men's and women's basketball. What a year for Arkansas, right? That's amazing.
They've had a great year athletically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. By the way, speaking of LSU's defense, they've given up 144 plays of 20-plus yards over the last 2 years.
Wow.
That's hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Brent, we got another question here on the Titan More text line. Just came in from William. William says, Brent, being a Heisman Trophy voter, I know it's early, but who are your top 3 preseason Heisman favorites?
Well, I mean, you've got to go with Bryce Young of Alabama and Will Anderson of Alabama too. I think the reality of this is people. I'm not going to make a prediction here, but Shane, would it surprise you if he has the kind of year that we think he does, that Will Anderson, a defensive player, could win the Heisman Trophy. I think that's very possible with the early season publicity he's got. And I would throw C.J. Stroud of Ohio State on there too. I think, Shane, you think a lot of him like I do. So is that fair? I know there are a lot of other guys, but I think if you looked at the odds right now, probably those three guys would be in just about everybody's top five.
Yeah, John says here Caleb Williams will be in the hunt as well out of USC.
Yeah,
and I agree. Yeah, so I would say one of these four, in my opinion, will win the Heisman. Bryce Young, which would be the only other two-time winner, he and Archie Griffin. Will Anderson, C.J. Stroud is going to put up huge numbers. He's just a natural thrower of the football.
He is.
And then Caleb Williams, having a full year under his belt out there with Lincoln Riley. I think Will Anderson is going to win it because I think these ridiculous voters, Brent, and you're not one of them. We're throwing you. You're over on the side, but sure. These voters that didn't even invite him to New York, and they invited the Hutchinson guy from Michigan.
That's right. Yeah,
it's not even, they're not even the same type of player, and so I think he's gonna have more publicity this year. I think people will probably do not want Bryce Young to go back to back. Now, if he has a phenomenal year, which he probably gonna, because people think Alabama's gonna. This is the best team Nick Saban's ever had that I've spoken with. If they can block a little bit up front,
right.
I think Will Anderson has an extremely strong chance to win the Heisman Trophy.
I think what's fascinating in here too, Shane, with all the guys that we mentioned, we hadn't even mentioned a running back, have we?
No.
It's not, Shane. It's not a running back award anymore, is it?
No, it's a quarterback. Like we talked about it earlier with those stats that you threw out there. Kids are throwing the football. They're getting the ball in space. And that's what you do. It's just hard to tackle. And then fans get mad because you can't tackle a guy on a bubble screen. And it's just a different game now. JB says here, Dylan Gabriel could have a shot at OU. I'm anxious to see how he plays there.
Me too. I agree with that. He's one of the transfers that has a lot of promise. It's going to be. I tell you what, I have heard about OU is that Venables is running a much tighter ship than they've had there in the last few years, making the players more accountable. That will be interesting, Shane, to see how that goes.
Yep. All right, Brent, before we get you out of here, just got a text on the Titan MR text line from Joe. Joe says, Brent, who you got winning the College World Series?
Oh, that's a great question, too. I'm excited about that. I think Ole Miss and A&M are playing extremely well, as is Stanford. I've seen early predictions that A&M may be the deepest team, and I've seen A&M and Stanford in the championship game with A&M winning. So I would say one of those three teams. But man alive, Shane, if Tennessee had gotten in over Notre Dame, it would have been the SEC Invitational, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no doubt about it. A lot of SEC West teams for sure. Brent, great stuff as always. Sorry for keeping you so long. We got a bunch of people here asking you questions. They love having you on the program.
Always enjoy it.
Great weekend. Enjoy the U.S. Open. Who are you picking to win the U.S. Open?
Justin Thomas, would that be good?
Well, he's not a bad player.
No, he's not, is he?
No, sir. Have a great weekend, my man.
Take care, bud. Enjoyed it as always.
That's Brent Beaird, our Heisman Trophy voter and college football analyst. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. We're going to take a timeout, come back, get to a lot of these Facebook Live and text messages. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics. Live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Bass Pro Shops, Dave & Buster's, Regal Cinemas, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Medici's, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, where every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 2:30, you can get the hottest brunch in town. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. And also, if you want to sign up for Father's Day, I know it may be already full. Give them a call and head on out there. John says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, I don't think you have mentioned Sully's new hire of Taylor Black. He likes the hire. I have not. I don't know anything about Taylor Black. I'm sure it's a good hire. I'm anxious to see how Sully, if he changes his recruiting, if he goes, you look at A&M, we talked about this. They won 6 SEC games last year, bring in Schlossnagel, who was a longtime success at TCU, and then he goes into the transfer portal. The majority of their entire team is made up of the transfer portal, and they're in Omaha. John says, why is it that college baseball, they can only have 2 paid assistant coaches, but in college football, they can have a whole army? I don't even know. It makes no sense that not all 25 players or 30 or however many on the roster are not on full scholarship. They have 11.7 or 11.5 scholarships to spread. It's just makes no sense to me. I've never understood that, John. We've had people talk about it, but I do not understand it. We missed it last night. The Colorado Avalanche win 4-3 over the Lightning. Take game 1 tonight is game 6 in Boston. Celtics are down 3-2. The Warriors can close it out. I'm sure the Celtics can win, and we'll have game 7 back in Golden State. Joseph says the softball recruit was just named Gatorade Player of the Year. I forgot her name right now. Yes, she's a pitcher. She's the National Player of the Year. She is coming in to be a Gator in Tim Walton. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Keegan Rothrock is her name. Scott says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. I was going to bring this up. I'm glad you did, Scott. He says, I saw some pictures on social media of Tebow and Eli Manning on campus yesterday or the day before. Any idea what they were shooting? Eli does that thing kind of like Peyton does with the NFL. I think it's called Peyton Places, and I think it's Eli something. Eli does it with colleges. So they were shooting something for that, which runs in the fall. Joseph says, appears we'll be keeping both Walton and Sully. That's a relief. Yeah. we're set. Our spring sports, even though some people wanted to go jump off a cliff, turned out okay. But like I said, I'm anxious to see what Sully does. Baseball recruiting is so weird. We've talked about it many times here because you never know if those kids are going to take the money coming out of high school or actually enroll in school and play for you. Will Sully go the A&M route and bring in a bunch of transfers? Made them relevant very, very, very fast, and they are in OKC. If you got joint pain, not OKC, they're in Omaha. If you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. Give them a call, 352-400-4550. All right, I got a question for all our listeners here. I don't follow, as y'all know, I don't follow recruiting closely. But is it Saturday that the Rashada kid, the quarterback, is supposed to make his announcement? Or has he changed that? Can someone let me know? I've had a couple of people text on the Titan MR text line asking as well. Dan says, baseball recruiting is worse than basketball. At least you get 1 year with basketball. That's true. Joseph, just like in football, there's a pile of talent in baseball at the JUCO. There is no question, Joseph. Sully ought to go get the top 2 JUCO pitchers in America. Okay, so John says Rashada is announcing his decision, which could change because he's got a whole nother year. But I guess it's Saturday. So I know a lot of people on pins and needles to see what happens there. Do you guys that follow recruiting think he's coming here? What are his other options? Is it A&M, Ole Miss? I can't remember. Charlie says, Shane, if JC leaves the show, I'm going to miss him impressively. His impressively random collection of hats. JC's not leaving the show. That was just a random anonymous texter that doesn't like JC talking about Alabama, doesn't like me and him talking about golf. Look, if we had a podcast back in the 90s, people would be talking about Florida just dominating the SEC. I mean, you got to give credit to Alabama. It is what it is. And they're going to be damn good this year, folks. Okay. Andy asked here on Facebook Live before we get to our second break. Marissa says first that the rumor on Dog Nation is Arch verbally committed to the Dogs. I think he's going to end up there, quite honestly. Andy asked, who do you think does Facebook Live messages go away quickly? Who do you think deserves to be the highest paid player in the NFL right now? Lamar Jackson thinks no, it ain't Lamar Jackson. That's a good question. Who is the highest paid guy right now? Is it Deshaun Watson? And it definitely ain't him. I would lean towards. I would probably say Josh Allen. That would be my suggestion. I just think he's phenomenal for a guy that didn't have any offers coming out of high school. But I'd have to think more about that, Andy. But Josh Allen is something else. Let's see what else we have here on Facebook Live. This thing. Okay, so his options, this is Rashada's, down to these schools. Ole Miss, LSU, Florida, A&M as a dark horse. That was from John Collins. John Brock says it's down to Florida and A&M, but there are some others. So I do love some Josh Allen. I think he's really, really good. Dan says he thinks that was Franz that sent that text. Franz, I know Franz's phone number, Dan. It has to be. It was from a different area code. But let's take a quick timeout. I got a couple more texts, and that cracked me up. When we come back, we'll wrap up this. We'll see who's. Let me look and see who's winning the U.S. Open right now. I know you guys are sitting on pins and needles wanting to know. Colin Morikawa and Russell Henley, the Georgia Bulldog. They're both tied at 200 par. We're going to take a quick timeout, come back, wrap up this Thursday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, Live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Wiebe, a realtor with Caldwell Banker MM Parish, will provide you with fast, friendly, and reliable service. Give her a call today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Okay, so Rashad is announcing on Saturday. We'll see. My question, I don't follow. Is he a higher rated quarterback than the kid that's supposed to be going to Tennessee getting $8 million? Anybody know the answer to that? Shoot it to us right here. This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat and schedule your air conditioner's tune-up today, keeping you chill in the Florida heat away. Give Comfort Temp a call, 376-2366. This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. In 2019, at the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, American Gary Woodland claims his first major title with a 3-stroke victory over defending champ Brooks Koepka. That's This Day in Sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Joseph says, do you have any idea what your highest viewer count has been on any given show on all platforms combined? I have no idea, Joseph. I don't look at any of that stuff. We got a production crew that handles all that does all the tweeting and all that good stuff. I just turn the computer on and talk sports. Andy's got his own This Day in Sports. Who do y'all got tonight? I think the Celtics win to tie it up to go back for Game 7. We're getting close to football season, folks. The more I think about it, it's right around the corner. Gators are working out hard. Be moving into the new new football facility in August now, but it's going to be so convenient for these kids. I can't wait. Scott says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, commitments are meaningless. You still have to get that dude to sign. That is a very valid point, Scott. I agree with you 110% there. Evan, Joseph says you have a homework assignment. Make sure you. Yes. Rick says, I can't wait to watch golf this weekend. It's a tough choice between that and grass growing. Rick, watch. It's at the oldest country club in the United States called the Country Club up in Brooklyn, Massachusetts. Old school course. It'll be very good stuff for you, Rick, even though you're not a golfer. A lot of stuff going on in the golf world, Rick. If you've been sleeping under a rock, it's a heated rivalry now with this new tour. So I'm anxious to see how those guys that are on that tour, how the drunk fans up in the Boston area react to them. Hope you enjoyed today's program. We want to thank our man Brent Beaird for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. Enjoy your Thursday. A lot of sports to watch today. We'll recap it all tomorrow, and we'll maybe get an update from JC tomorrow on his weight at the public scale. Appreciate you watching. Tell all your friends and family to follow our program, even the one guy that doesn't like how we do it. It's okay. We can't make everybody happy. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.